Great. Well, it's turned 11 now, so a big welcome to all of you. I'm Paul Southgate, chair of the National Justice and Peace Network, and I'm really looking forward to today's get together. Just a warning that this meeting is being recorded. I hope that's okay with everybody. I'll take you through the day briefly before we ask Sue to pray. So we have the annual general meeting. So that's the usual. Apologies, the minutes, any matters arising, treasurer's account, my report, then the election of officers and members of NJPN. And then if you have any other business or comments or questions, that's the time for that. Followed by the notice board, what's going on everywhere. And then we'll break for lunch, whatever time that happens to finish. Then at 2 o'clock, we begin again. So we have a nice long lunch break. And we'll introduce Dr. Chris Hewer. The theme of today is forging a new culture of peace. And the particular angle that Chris is going to come from is the Abrahamic faiths, defining, building, and maintaining a just peace. And then we'll have questions and answers. So any questions or comments that you have, put them in the chat. Jeff and I will organize that, and we'll bring those to Chris Hewer. And then we'll have a closing liturgy. And at the end, we'll have time for networking again, as we will over lunch, I'm sure, Jeff. Is that right?
Yeah.
Are you arranging rooms for the lunchtime?
I'll try and set up some breakout rooms that if people just want to wander into them. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So that's a breakdown of the day. Once again, a big welcome to you all. Thanks very much for taking off your Saturday to come together. Is it anyone's first time here? Let me see. David Doig, probably it's yours from CAFOD, is that right? You're very welcome, David. Anyone else? I think
Hello.
we've all been. I think the rest of us have all been before, haven't we? Okay, so Sue, would you like to lead us in prayer, please?
So let's just take a couple of minutes to be calm and forget all the things we've been busy doing this morning, the things we need to do later on today. And ask the Holy Spirit to be with us. The following prayer is a Muslim, Jewish, and Christian prayer for peace. O God, you are the source of life and peace. Praised be your name forever. We know it is you who turn our minds to thoughts of peace. Hear our prayer in this time of war. Your power changes hearts. Muslims, Christians, and Jews remember and profoundly affirm that they are followers of the one God, children of Abraham, brothers and sisters. Enemies begin to speak to one another. Those who are estranged join hands in friendship. Nations seek the way of peace together. Strengthen our resolve to give witness to these truths by the way we live. Give to us understanding that puts an end to strife, mercy that quenches hatred, and forgiveness that overcomes vengeance. Empower all people to live in your law of love. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sue. Very apt prayer for today. Well, then we'll move to our annual general meeting. I'm not sure which one this is. It must be nearly 50 now, is it? Anyone, any ideas? 47 or 48 anyway. Not that I've been around for all of them. Do we have any apologies, please, for our meeting today? Jeff, you're on mute.
Apologies from Anne O'Connor, Phil Curtin from Southwark, Kent, Bernard Shaw from East Anglia, Martin Birdseye from Christian CND, Julian Filikowski from the Romero Trust, and Liz Archibald, and Helen Jones from Liverpool.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, have you all received and read the minutes of the last AGM?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
They should have been, they were emailed out again yesterday to the...
Okay. I don't think I got anything actually yesterday. Not to
I did.
worry.
They were there.
Good, good.
That went to all organisations and individuals who were fully paid up members.
Or have I not paid yet?
I don't know.
Okay.
The only way I can get people off the database is if they're up to date with their subscription.
All right. Okay. Well, there it is. We have the minutes from last year. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jeff. The financial statement was given by Mike. A healthy situation. Paradoxically, COVID had helped that. As he said, it was a peculiar year. Then there was my report. Then a few questions, election of members. Yes, that all went well. And that was basically it. So can we have somebody to propose that these minutes be agreed and second that they be accepted, please?
Agree. Good.
Thank you very much. Who was that proposing?
Kevin here. Yes.
Good, thank you, Kevin. And the seconder?
I'll second them, Colette.
Colette. Thank you, Colette, and welcome. Hope things are well in Westminster under the Labour government, Labour Council.
So, Sharon,
For the council, yes, it's an interesting development. Our chair, his parish is based in that council, so very interesting for us. We have.
Well, that's right. Right. That's Dominic.
Indeed,
Okay.
it is. Yes, and
Sharon,
much
that'll be Westminster.
need
that
for interaction
seconded
with
the
Westminster
note.
Council, so very useful for us. Westminster Cathedral, of course, is also in there on their patch.
Yeah. And number 10 Downing Street. Okay, are there any matters arising from those minutes that anyone wants to raise? I'll take that as a no and full agreement and comprehension. Thank you very much indeed. Well, I'll move now to Mike, our treasurer, who's going to give us his annual report. Welcome, Mike.
No, just let me get into, there we go, and focus. Really not very much to report. Financial statement looks very similar to, oh, you got it up there, that's good, to last year. There are hints that the advantages of COVID, in quotes, are slightly over. Technically, we made a small loss last year of £1,100, but given the fact that Hayes will put its prices up and the cost of everything is going up, then as the years go on, we will eat into our reserves. But as you can see, due to the loyalty of the members who have carried on contributing through the time, we have something like 45 grand as a reserve. So that should keep us going for at least a couple of years. That's if nothing else happens, if no one gives us any money, and if we don't get any more members, and nobody comes to conference, and you know all the terrible things that you can think about. The full annual report will be on the website. It's not there at the moment, but it will be once I get it to Stephen and you can be able to look at it. But that's about it, really.
All right,
If
Mike.
any questions at all on what's there? But certainly, as COVID fades, for want of a better term, and more face-to-face meetings take place, then of course our expenses will go up. But such is life.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, thanks very much indeed, Mike. That's very heartening, and also a little bit worrying, obviously, with the rise in the cost of living, fuel, and everything else. So thanks for keeping us straight during this year, and for keeping us updated every few weeks on the situation. Right. Well, let me give you my report before we move to the election. Now, I was thinking that 25 years ago, I remember being full of hope. New Labour was elected, which in my case was a hopeful thing. The World Wide Web, I remember accessing that for the first time. Preparing for the millennium brought with it a lot of hope, vision and ambition. Middlesbrough were back in the Premiership, which again in my case was a cause for real hope. And there seemed to be a process of convergence, throughout the world. Things seem to be coming together. But then into the noughties, there was the credit crunch, austerity, climate emergency, pandemic, wars, refugees. The process of convergence has stalled. A decoupling is underway. And the big question is, where is the hope? The hope. And as you know, that's the theme that we've chosen for this year's conference. I was just reading the other day about Jane Goodall, and she you know Jane Goodall, the anthropologist, the chimps in Tanzania. She wrote a book in October, or published in October, called The Book of Hope. And she was interviewed about this book. And the interviewer said, how do you maintain hope? We're surrounded by all these big problems like the pandemic, climate change, poverty. You still maintain this deep hope in your heart. How do you do that? So Jane Goodall said, well, first of all, let me explain what I mean by hope. Hope isn't something passive. I see us now as in a very dark tunnel, and at the end of this dark tunnel is a little star of light, and that's hope. Well, we don't just sit at our end of the tunnel and hope that light will come to us. No, we have to roll up our sleeves and crawl under and climb over all the obstacles between us and that star of light. So hope is about action. If we lose hope, that's the big disaster. If we lose hope, why bother? When you have hope, you take action and you see that you're making a difference. And then other people get inspired. So it's a sort of outward spiral, gathering in more people as it goes. I thought, well done, Jane. That's exactly the Christian view of hope. And it's words like that our world really needs today. So the conference in a couple of months' time, hope, a verb with its sleeves rolled up. The ticket office is open now, so make your booking, 22nd to the 24th of July. Please join us. Last year's conference at Swanwick was attended by nearly 200 people. We took the theme 2021 Moment of Truth, Action for Life on Earth. And let's remind ourselves of some of the big messages from that brilliant weekend at Swanwick. Father Josh from the Vatican told NJPN that you can count on the support of our dicastery as we work together under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit as families, parishes, communities, and institutions to heal and protect Mother Earth. Mark Rotherham described the arms industry as a huge shadow over our nation and felt that we need to withdraw legitimacy from this draw on global resources and energy. Andy Atkins deplored the UK government's loss of credibility to deal with the crisis facing us. He said, at a time when the government says it is leading the world, it has cut its aid budget and has opened the door to further fossil fuel development. We should be saying no more fossil fuel exploitation in this country. Lorna Gold applauded the role young people have been playing in stimulating crisis action. She said, young people have done more in 2 years than the rest of us have done over 3 decades. And we had some of those young university and school students with us at the conference, and they told us bluntly that they would like less of fossil fuel companies pretending to care and schools accepting money from them. They urged Catholics to challenge the increasingly hostile policy towards refugees, many of whom are victims of our UK actions in arms trading and raising global temperatures. Very important messages that we need to carry through on. We had networking days too. In September, we had a day on mental health and suicide prevention. As a Northerner myself, I was very moved by this session. Northerners spent about 6 weeks longer in lockdowns than the rest of the country. We were made poorer than the rest of England. We were more likely to die, experienced a larger drop in mental well-being, more loneliness, more antidepressant prescriptions, more despair. Our speakers, Holly and Joanne, gave us a handle on the scope and scale and urgency of the massive challenge facing everyone. Then in November, we held this day the day after COP26 finished, if you remember. And we just wanted to digest what had happened. Was it a good COP or a bad COP? And we realized that we weren't finished at all, but that we had to redouble our efforts to avert an imminent climate catastrophe. The day was an opportunity to reflect on and respond to what had happened at the COP in Glasgow, especially from the perspectives of those who actually took part in pilgrimages and activities. We were inspired by the passion, energy, and ambition of Chris and Claire Myers, Ellen Teague, and Josh Evans. It's been said that 2% of people change the world, 8% watch it being changed, and 90% don't know that it was changed. Well, we do know. And speaking of change, synodality was the theme of our network day in February. How does the church change? And what change is needed? In truth, I've been taken aback at what seems to me the casual way that this has been handled in our part of the world. In Eswatini, for example, you know, the old Swaziland in South Africa, bishops there have ordered every home to be visited, every home, to get their people involved, to get their views. We, on the other hand, seemed content to hold a few meetings. Well, maybe I'm being unfair. Anyway, it was heartening to get your views on that day. On the 2nd of March, the European Justice and Peace Conference of Commissions, so there's over 30 commissions in Europe, Justice and Peace, and NJPN is now a fully paid up member of that. It launched its concerted action. Every year it has a theme that it asks everyone to gather around and do something about. The theme for this year, as I say, launched on the 2nd of March, was building a new culture of peace, forging a new culture of peace, the theme of today's meeting. In order to better discern the signs of the times, we can take inspiration from Pope Francis, his encyclical Fratelli Tutti on fraternity and social friendship. He describes war itself, and not only terrorist attacks, racial or religious persecution, as an affront to human dignity, and that all these situations of violence have become so common as to constitute a real World War III fought piecemeal. That means that we have to forge the development of a new culture of peace, which can be achieved only if we strive for justice through dialogue, pursuing reconciliation and mutual development. And his words echo even louder today, as you know. So I'd like to make some thanks today, to pay tribute in no particular order. Firstly, to my fellow members of the executive who've been terrific this year. I don't know how many meetings we've had, but it's been a lot. Zoom has enabled us to meet frequently. I want to thank Anne especially, and PC, because she's been a great support as vice chair. I think she's actually been more of a co-chair, to be honest with you. She's been great. I'd like to thank Anne Kelly for her work on membership and much more this year. Her experience has been invaluable during this last year. I want to thank Jeff, our administrator. I'd like to thank our media and marketing committee, and Ellen Teague for keeping us in touch, not just with Columbans, but with the Catholic media in general. And to all of you brave hearts who contribute to the NJPN column in the Catholic Universe and Independent Catholic News and the tablet. And thanks also to contributors to our newsletter. Thanks to Sharon Chambers for her dedication in publishing the NJPN e-bulletins fortnightly, and to Anne O'Connor, who can't be with us today, for producing the Northwest NJPN e-bulletins. Both absolutely outstanding. Thanks to Stephen Cook for keeping our website up to date. And to NJPN Environment Group for keeping the flame alive after 17 years and counting. Thanks to our good friends at CAFOD, and please, David, take this message back, for continuing to fund and support NJPN. I do want to especially mention Maria Elena, who retired during the year and has been a terrific support to us, and to Christine Allen, who chaired last year's conference. Thanks to all our friends and partners who've also generously funded and supported us to do all this. Thanks all of you for standing by us. We've seen the passing of valued friends this last year. Sadly, Simon, who none of you I don't think will have met apart from Kevin, he worked on our new database, designing it, constructing it, and he died unexpectedly last month. And during the year, we lost 2 former NJPN chairs. John Marshall from Hexham and Newcastle in December, and Charlie Birchall in July. So may they all enjoy the intoxicating exuberance and joyful peace of eternal life in heaven, our true homeland. Just making sure I'm thanking everyone. Oh yes, thanks for everyone for making last year's conference a success. It was an uncertain time, a stressful time because of COVID, and we had a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. It was 2 years in the making. So thanks to the planning group for your perseverance. I know you were all shattered at the end of it. And I applaud the bravery of all who physically took part. One of the first in-person conferences during COVID. So well done. I'd like to thank our planning group for our next conference too. Stella Maris, the Joint Public Issues team, Christians Aware, A Call to Action. It's a very ecumenical team and we'll have some fantastic speakers. I want to thank you all as well. As the Old Testament prophets shook up the status quo of governments and hierarchies, often calling them to cherish those who are deprived and poor, you challenge and have challenged the powerful ones in our day to look with compassion on the poor, the suffering, the deprived. You challenge them to beat their swords into plowshares and to cherish our planet. So thank you. I remind you of what Bishop John Arnold told us at the last conference. He thanked NJPN for who you are, what you stand for, and what you want, and for keeping Pope Francis as an inspiration in our lives and actions. And finally, hear these words of the 14th Dalai Lama. No matter what is going on, never give up. Develop the heart. Too much energy in your country is spent developing the mind instead of the heart. Be compassionate, not just to your friends, but to everyone. Be compassionate. Work for peace in your heart and in the world. Work for peace. And I say again, never give up. No matter what is going on around you, never give up. So thank you for listening to that. And I move us on now to the election of our officers and exec members. I'm going to hand over to Jeff at this stage because he has the names.
I'm just having to unmute Paul. I had to mute before because all the Middlesbrough fans had just got off the train and were marching past our church on their way to play Preston.
Exactly. It starts at 3 o'clock. So if we
no, 12:30. 12:30. 12:30.
No.
Everything's 12:30 today in that division.
All right. Well, I know how I'm spending my lunchtime then. Middlesbrough versus Preston. Thank you.
So I'm sorry, I've left the piece of paper where I'd written down who nominated and seconded everybody. So I'll have to do that, give that to Sharon afterwards. But basically, the only nominations I've had are from the existing exec. So that would be Paul Southgate as chair, Anne Peacey as vice chair, Kevin Burr as Honorary Secretary, Mike Clark as Treasurer, members Ashley Wilson, Sue Ingham, Annette Brindle, and then the present exec wishes to co-op Mary Hayes and Barbara Butler again.
Okay,
So basically, that just needs to be ratified by the meeting. So basically, if there are any objections.
Okay then. So any objections, please speak up.
So can we just have a show of hands to ratify?
Before we do, can I just point out, I'm not Sue Ingram, I'm Sue Ingham.
Oh, sorry, I've just done that in the last 5 minutes, put the new list together, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's a common thing, but I would hate to for this other person to be on the exec who wasn't intended.
So you are, Sue. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay then. Unless anyone objects, we'll pass this through as a block, if that's okay.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Right. And can I just say that, you know, we are desperate for new members of our exec.
About it, yeah.
And for younger ones as well, people who can bring fresh blood, new energy, new vision. You know what I'm talking about. So by next March, if all of you can ask 10 people if they would be willing to serve on the exec, then we'll have about 200 to choose from. And then we can really get moving. So don't be afraid, just ask people. If they say no, they say no. But if they're interested, then please let us know and we'll be happily talk to them, tell them what's involved and so on. But it's a shame that year after year we're the same. I mean, it shouldn't be like that. So any questions or comments about what's been said so far? Anyone want to say anything? Or is it all wonderfully clear, like a pellucid mountain stream? All okay with that? Myra, are you wanting to ask something?
I would just like to say how much I appreciated your report, Paul. It was gentle yet challenging, and also it gave quite a good overall picture of what we had lived. So I thank you for that.
Well, thank you,
and it
Myra.
wasn't boring, Paul. It wasn't boring one bit.
Thank you.
I didn't switch off.
Yeah, no, it was very good, Paul. Thank you, and it was a good introduction to the Hope theme. You could do worse than repeat that at the start of the conference, I think, because it was very good. That quote from Jane Goodall and everything. It was very good lead to the conference.
Thank you, Adrian. Adrian from Stella Maris. Thank you very much, Adrian. I'll bear that in mind for the conference.
Paul, have I lost sense of time, or was Maureen's death since the last AGM, or was it just before the last AGM? Previous administrator.
Right.
I know she was booked into conference and then died before conference actually happened. So I think we ought to give tribute. I can't remember whether we did last year or not, but we certainly ought to give tribute to Maureen Matthews.
You do. Many of you knew her. I didn't. Would anyone like to share any thoughts about Maureen? And we certainly must include that in the report then. Remind me to do that, Chair, please.
Marion, do you want to say something?
I do, actually.
Yeah.
Not only was Maureen your administrator, or our administrator, but she also was chair of our Justice and Peace group and our ecumenical one where I live in Marple near Stockport. And it was a great loss when she died, not only for the group, which hasn't really got going again, but obviously on a wider field. She just worked endlessly. It was her passion. justice and peace, the environment particularly, and she started an environmental group, which we are continuing with. I think she died the year before, didn't she? And we had it last year in the August. We had a year's service for her, you know, a year after her death. So anyway, I just want to say,
yeah, I've obviously got the time wrong there.
No, but
I know she was booked into the last conference, but it could have been the one that cancelled.
Yeah, I think it was, because last August we had one of the things she started was a community orchard in our, you know, our area, community orchard, and we had a service in the church she went to, and then we all met at the community orchard for memories of Maureen, and it was a lovely day, and it just worked out very well. So I just wanted to say something. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion. Well done. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Oh yes, Annette.
I don't say Maureen is, look, it's Maureen's fault that I got very involved in NJPN and that I'm on the exec.
Well, tell us about it. This could be a model.
Well, she was, because she was very involved in the commission, the Nottingham Diocese Commission, which she was involved in. And then she kept saying, you know, you ought to get involved in, you ought to go down to London, you ought to be getting involved in things. It's really good, very valuable, very important. And it's all very quiet. But, you know, and she was always very enthusiastic, very helpful. And when I was saying about how to work through my commitments, she was just very supportive. And so I ended up starting to go to meetings down in London with CAFOD, you know, the CAFOD building, and that's how I got involved, really through her support, because it's quite a commitment to when you're working, to travel down and go to meetings.
Yeah.
But she just said how valuable it was and how important the work was, and reinforced it.
And she's been proved right, Annette. Well, thanks to Maureen for bringing you on board.
Yeah.
And that really backs up what I was saying, doesn't it? Of just asking people.
And you can blame Rosemary Reid for getting me involved in the commission, Nottingham Diocesan Commission. So just as a commission. So and she's another great person.
Thank you. All right then. Is there any other business?
Sorry, just wondered if I missed it. Are we having a treasurer's report or?
We've had it out.
We have. Sorry, I came later. So,
okay, it's been recorded, so you'll be able to.
Okay.
You'll be able to catch up. Is that it then? In that case, let's move on to the notice board. Jeff, are you ready for us? I know we're an hour earlier than you expected.
I can be. Yes. Right. Let's just find it. Oh. I've lost it.
This is great, isn't it? This is great. We're really motoring along here, and I'm all for meetings, you know, being as
sorry, I've lost it. I've lost
as
it.
Short as they can be.
Just let me start again.
Okay.
Right. What's that? Piermont.
So I think the first thing is the conference, which Paul's already mentioned. Hope with a verb with its sleeves rolled up on the 22nd to the 24th of July at the Hayes. The newsletter that you got in the mail in the last few days, and the emailed copy I sent yesterday has more details of the speakers and the workshops. Anne, is there anything you'd like to add on to that?
Yes, I mean, it's going to be absolutely brilliant, because since the newsletter went to print, I had a phone call out of the blue from somebody who I had approached a few months ago and hadn't received any response from. And I thought maybe we got an old email address or they weren't interested. But then just out of the blue, I got a phone call from Andy Flanagan and saying he'd been on shore because he's a musician, has a great background in working for social justice. And he said he's part of he's had a wide range of experience working for the Archbishop of Canterbury, a lot in the political field as well, for about 12 years. From a faith perspective, he's done lots and lots of things. And he also said he would offer some kind of musical entertainment, musical evening, singing some of the music that he has written and performed on his tours with a social conscience and sort of activist kind of song. So I said, oh, that's absolutely fantastic. And so he's committed himself to doing that. So he's going to be the speaker on Saturday afternoon about 4 o'clock, after we've had our alternative Saturday afternoon activities. And so we're really looking forward to that. We wanted somebody from a faith background who would give a sort of kind of hope with a political context and through working through the political system. So I'm really pleased that he has managed to come. I have heard him speak once before, and that I think that was either at a JPIC conference, no, or Christians in Politics, one of the two. But very, very interesting. And so I was really thrilled when he said he would, yes, he'd come and do it. So we've got to finalise the details of that. So that's really exciting. And also our Friday evening speaker, Philip McDonagh, is also a poet and a musician. And he would like to do some input on the Saturday afternoon, either poetry or literature related or something like that. So our speakers are multifaceted, multi-talented, so that's really exciting. And the other really exciting thing is we have one of our patrons, Reverend Ruth G, who is going to lead an ecumenical worship on the late Saturday afternoon. And when she came to conference a few years ago and she was chair, everybody was so blown away by what she had to say and her gentle way of approaching things. So we're really pleased that she's been able to come. So yeah, so I think we just need loads of people to turn up now and lots of people to book, including myself, I think, yeah. So Jeff, is there anything you want to say particularly about the workshops?
No, I mean, we'll have 8 or 9 workshops. Details of most of them have been in the or have been in the newsletter this week. Particularly, there will be a couple of port chaplains talking about signs of hope in their work from Immingham Port that Stella Morris are sending. Barbara will be doing something for Christians Aware. There'll be a sort of discussion type seminar with some prepared material that ACTA are doing on synodality. Teresa Alexander and Marie Norbury, they're coming from PACT, from the Prisoners Action Trust, to look at how parishes can work with prisons to provide hope for those who are incarcerated. So there's quite a few workshops there. We're developing stuff for a Sunday morning. At the moment, we're looking at asking a few groups to look at signs of hope from their organisation's point of view. So I'm sure we'll be approaching you in the next few days to look at what Pax Christi sees as hope in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the arms.
And perhaps Martin Birdseye, who's not able to come today, to look at the nuclear armaments treaty.
So that's work in progress at the moment.
Yeah, that's work in progress. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if David's aware of this, but we are really hoping to hear from CAFOD on their signs of hope from their latest campaigns in one of the workshop sessions. But we'll talk to David, following this meeting. So that's really where we're at. Yes.
Thank you. So next is the dates for later on this year. 24th of September, Hexham and Newcastle are putting something together for us somewhere in their diocese. And the 12th of November, we'll hope to be in London or the South East. Colette, do you want to speak to Westminster?
Yeah, I just put a few key things together. Sorry, there are some people who are not muted and there's a big echo on my computer. Jeff, is it possible to just mute the people that are not?
It's hard to do it when I've got the screen, when I've got the...
I realise that, yes, or make somebody a co-host.
Paul's a co-host. Could you do that? Could you mute all?
Thanks, it was somebody put it in the chat as well, so I think it's not just me. Right.
I'm a co-host, am I?
Yeah, because I thought you might want to put something up.
I've never been a co-host. I wouldn't know how to do it.
Actually, I can do it now.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Right, I've managed to do it. Mute all. Yeah, so you Colette, you'll have to unmute.
Yep, now I'm muted, great. Okay, I just put 3 things up among many that we're working on in Westminster. A big one is that we are actually looking for new members for our commission. We've reviewed our terms of service. We did have 12 members. We are now open to having up to 15 to widen the range of people who can contribute. And we're especially hoping that we'll recruit a more diverse bunch of commissioners. Looking, as we all are, for people from different ethnic backgrounds and younger adults as well. And we've sort of firmed up that we'll have a chair, coordinator, myself, and a staff member for CAFOD and a staff member for Caritas as permanent members of the commission. So being much clearer about who's on as a member of staff and then who's on as a volunteer. And we're doing that between now and the 17th of June, hoping to have interviews the end of the summer term, ready to start with the new commission in September. And then the 2 priority areas for us this year are the care of creation. And a number of you here will know that we've had a network set up for the Southern Diocese on the environment, which is meeting monthly on a Monday lunchtime, but we're also hoping to organise some evening meetings online and some in-person events as time goes on. We're very excited that the next one, this coming Monday, we have John Paul Decay and Mary Colwell as our speakers talking about biodiversity. Mary Colwell, as many of you know, was instrumental in getting the GCSE in natural history approved, which will start next year. So she's going to come and talk to us about that. You're very welcome to come if you're not in one of the 8 listed dioceses. We welcome guests.
There is more information in the newsletter, in the NJPN newsletter. We've put something about the group as well in this season's newsletter.
Thank you ever so much for that. And the other issue is racial justice. We're very concerned about people's access within the diocese as well as external racial justice. So we've been talking to our bishops and our senior staff members about what we can do to improve the situation. And we have an open workshop on the 25th of May at Fawn House. That's me, thank you.
Thanks, Colette.
Can I just ask Colette, if I can't, I haven't got my diary. If I'm free to come, how do I get the link
For
the Southern Dioceses?
Yeah, either from our website. These are web links, so anything.
Oh, great.
Jeff has the link that he can send around.
Oh,
but I'll also put in the chat how you would sign up for these.
Thank you, Colette.
Grand.
Right, I think it's me next. Lancaster Diocese have decided to have a day in person for our. We've not had a Justice and Peace Day for quite a number of years, and we decided we would do something. And Father Eamon Mulcahy will come and talk to us on finding Jesus in the Eucharist, the poor and creation, and that will be on Saturday, the 4th of June, at St Wilfrid's Church in the centre of Preston. So we're literally 5 minutes away from the railway station. So basically anywhere in the northwest or even from London is a train journey and a 5-minute walk away from us. Eamon will also celebrate the 12:15 Mass in the parish and preach at that. And then after lunch, we've got several short presentations. So a Holy Child sister who takes out communion in some of the poorest parts of Blackpool will talk about her experiences of working with the poor and lonely there. We have a gentleman coming to talk to us from Caritas Care, their project, the ACE project, which works with prisoners when they first come out of prison and works with prisoners' families while they're in prison. And he will talk about the signs of hope that have come through working with the group that ACE provide. And we've got somebody from the Poverty Truth Commission in Lancaster, again, talking about their experiences. So there's more details on the Lancaster Faith and Justice website, or you can contact Sue, our Faith and Justice worker. Thank you. Helen sent me this morning just to say that there are some job opportunities in Liverpool that if we can, for the Archdiocese of Liverpool, if we can make them known to our members and people that were interested. So there's a training coordinator for the diocese, Catholic social action coordinator, and a pastoral development advisor. So there's 3 roles coming up, full-time roles within the diocese. If we can spread the word. I think the closing date is fairly soon. It doesn't actually say this on the poster, but it will do on the Liverpool Catholic website on their jobs page. Angela, do you want to talk about Cardiff? You'll need to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me all right?
That's fine, Angela.
Yeah, okay. Well, of course, we're getting a new Archbishop at the end of June, getting Bishop Mark O'Toole from Plymouth. And looking at the website in Plymouth, they do have quite a lot of justice and peace activity there. So we're hopeful. So what we're hoping to do is to have a meeting with the new Archbishop as soon as we can after he's arrived to discuss the future of the Justice and Peace Network in Cardiff. You see, we're now down to, there are only 2 parishes in the whole diocese which actually have active groups. That involves 3 churches. Originally, at one point, we did have 7 churches involved and 4 parishes. So there are now about 11 people in the network altogether. So we're sort of trying to work out how we can get more members. It's just that, people have retired, people have died, there are health issues. So we're battling about that. So the 2 churches, there were 3 churches which are still active. That's St. Peter's Parish in Roath and the 2 parishes in Penarth and Dinas Powys. So I think we did various things here. Perhaps the main thing we did, we had a prayer vigil during the 5 Saturdays in Lent outside the cathedral to pray for the care of creation. We had to miss a Saturday because there was a match on in Cardiff, and you can't do anything in Cardiff when there's a match on. So that was fine. And then on one of the Saturdays, we had a talk at the Cornerstone at the same place on St. Oscar Romero and his ecumenical inspiration of him. And we had Dr. What was his name now? Have a look.
Eduardo Colom.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Him. Yes, that was very good. So the problem was, of course, it clashed with the vigil for the environment, which was going on outside. So I was able to go into the talk, and we left the other people outside still attending the vigil, and then tried to tie up with information afterwards. Then, and on the 16th of March, 2 of us, that was from St. Peter's, we joined up with Frank Tallis of ACTA in a Zoom meeting with students from the 6th Form College, St. David's. But there were only 3 students who joined us, which was okay. I mean, and they talked about issues they've got with the church in relation to the synod. Yeah, I think it's all there really, the various things that we've done at St. Peter's. As I say, we're just trying very hard now to in case the Justice and Peace network dies altogether of really extending it. I mean, I know there are 4 other parishes which do have social action activities, but we can't at the moment get them on board. It's and I am certain that there are other parishes that do, because I can't believe that in a diocese the size of Cardiff that there aren't more things going on in justice and peace issues. So as I say, we're battling on, really. By the way, for me, I got COVID. I tested negative this last Monday, so I'm still in that recovering. So I couldn't believe that after 2 years of being so careful and being at the conference and all that, and finally getting it right at the end of 2 years. There we go. That's how life is. Yeah, so we are planning to get a proper leaflet going on the subject of fuel poverty, which will, and that will be a campaign, probably, I think, and it will be about trying to get a what do you call it? The windfall tax from the companies. Okay.
Thanks, Angela.
Yeah, I think that's about it then, Paul. Really, you can see what we're trying to do anyway. And as I said, we have got hopes that it's not that the present Archbishop has not supported us, but it's just that we haven't things happened in the network. People went, and it was very difficult to get it going again. So we're hoping to get going, to start going. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. That's Christy.
Thank you, Jeff. Before I go on to the annual general meeting, the other things that are on the sheet, which are actually in a different order, I just want to say that we can't escape the fact that we're in a time of war, which is, on our doorstep, which is unprecedented for so many people. It's been extremely difficult for peace groups during this time to gauge what it is that we can say and how to say it and who we can say it to. What we've been doing, we haven't been not doing anything. We've certainly been working behind the scenes as much as we can with people. We work very, very closely together with with other groups, with other peacemaking groups. And we've all been putting up prayer resources and taking action. I'm very grateful to the Fellowship of Reconciliation, who have had a Friday reflection for the 10 weeks that the war has lasted, and members of Pax Christi and Christian CND and the Anglican Pacifist Movement and others from around the globe have been joining in that. And I would recommend that 30 minutes of reflection, which always has an input from somebody who gives us a bit more information about what's happening and something to think about. They have all been really good. So, Fridays at 7:30 from the FOR is really worth looking at. As well as this, we've been very concerned about conscientious objectors in both Russia and in Ukraine, because in both countries they have been forced to fight in the military, and we have been trying to find ways to get in touch with them and to offer support. And we've also been in touch with the Quakers in Russia and Ukraine. And through them, there's also prayer meetings each week as well with them. And it's also a way through social media to send messages of solidarity to the peacemakers in both countries. And of course, in Russia, the peacemakers who have spoken out against the war have been treated with extreme violence. And one of our worries is that in some media, we see a demonization of all Russians, and this is very worrying. But we've been trying to find ways of being in touch with people, offering solidarity and joining people in prayer. Because, of course, the response to a war, as usual, and the response to this war is no different, is an increase in militarism. And the shares in the arms trade firms have rocketed over the last couple of months. And it's incredibly hard to do what some of us are doing as well at the moment, and have been doing for years, which is to campaign for divestment from the arms firms, both from banks and particularly for our pensions. The whole thing has also raised the ugly face of nuclear weapons. And we realise that there's huge lack of awareness about what nuclear weapons do. People are talking about small tactical weapons. What they're talking about are weapons that are the size of and maybe bigger than those that destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. People don't really understand what these weapons will do. So we're joining with others in trying to put out information and look to see to raise awareness and to work against. We're still working for the divestment from nuclear weapons, and locally we're doing that as well. We've been doing it for 10 years with little progress, but we're carrying on doing that. And of course we will be working with others as the Vienna meeting of the nuclear weapon ban treaty meetings of the countries will be taking place. So there's going to be a focus on that. So as well as that, we'll be looking at Conscientious Objectors Day internationally is on the 15th of May, and the usual ceremony will take place in Tavistock Square at 1 o'clock, and anybody who can get there is very welcome to go. There's also a live stream, but also there will be some events taking place locally. So if you're doing something locally for CO Day, then please let us know and we can put it up on our website. Nakba Day is also on the 15th of May, the commemoration of the destruction of the Palestinian homeland and society. And of course, that is a continuing Nakba. And Jeff, when you asked me to see, if I could, to work on something looking for hope, it's something that I don't feel each day as we see the horrendous violence that Palestinians are suffering in Palestine at the moment, and more recently, the court's decision to displace over 1,000 people from one area south of Hebron. So it is really it's really hard. So that would be a really difficult piece of work, but nevertheless, we still need to look for hope. The other news that came was that we were horrified. Many of us will remember being part of demonstrations over the years in the past to get rid of US nuclear weapons on UK soil. And much to our horror, it's been announced that they are considering, in fact, the work is going on at Lakenheath in Suffolk to store yet again United States nuclear weapons on UK soil. So there will be a demonstration on the 21st of May, and there's a link there, but the place to go for information about that is CND. And there's plans developing for transport and for people to be there on that day. And then back up to the AGM, if that's possible, Jeff. Thank you. Our AGM is taking place on Saturday, the 18th of June. It's in person, and we're also looking to make it a blended or a hybrid meeting that people can join online. I've never done anything like this before, having the two. So if anybody's got any advice, I would welcome it, because trying to manage it in both ways. But I think it's a way of being inclusive that we will need to consider a lot, all of us in the future. We're at Bloomsbury Central Baptist Church, partly because it's a good place to meet, but also they have the technology. So I'm hoping that's, it will help us along the way. And we'll, like everybody, at the AGM, like today, we'll have our business meeting. And like everybody, we are also looking for new exec members. So, you know, the diversity, the age range and all the rest of it that everybody else is looking for, we're looking for as well. So please get in touch if you're interested, or nominate others or ask them, as Paul was saying earlier, please ask people if they would like to serve. And that would be really good. We have asked the new Canon for Art and Reconciliation, Mary Gregory. She's the new canon at Coventry Cathedral, and this is proved to be a very exciting post already, although she's very new, because if you haven't seen it, Coventry Cathedral has an exhibition of Epsteins at the moment, and they are amazing. The small ones and big ones. So if you're able to get there, go and have a look. And this whole idea of looking at art and reconciliation together. So we're asking her to speak to us in the afternoon, and she's chosen the title Engaged, Wounded, Reframing Ourselves for Peace and Reconciliation. And I think this sums up, we've all been engaged in work where we have ended up, you know, feeling a bit hopeless and a bit battered because we've been trying for so long to do it. And what we've asked her to do is, in effect, to look and see how we can find the hope and how we can keep going and, you know, get the energy and the enthusiasm to move on in doing this work. So, of course, everybody's invited to come, and I look forward to seeing lots of you on that day, whether in person or online. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Sam. Are there any other dioceses that would like to make a contribution? Barbara, okay.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm from Middlesbrough Diocese. Sorry, we didn't send in a report this time. It's just to say, after much negotiation, we have actually arranged every year we have a lecture around this time in memory of Father Anthony Story, who was one of the founder members of our commission. And this year, after much negotiation, we have managed to get Carmody Gray to do this lecture for us. Many of you may well have listened to her hook lecture already, but we felt it was a lecture almost that everybody needs to hear. So I will send details for the newsletter. It's going to be on Tuesday, June the 21st at 7 p.m. on Zoom. We've decided to go with Zoom again this year, so we're delighted that she's able to do that. So that's what I think that's probably, generally it's been a fairly quiet few months for the Commission. I'm very interested that everybody is talking about trying to get new people. It's a proverbial thing within Middlesbrough. We are all getting older and older, the members on the Commission, and we're really trying to the same way. I'm about to hopefully go and talk to the youth chaplain, and there is this, isn't there, amongst all of us, this desire to have new people, new diversity, new youngsters and the difficulty of actually achieving that. But on a positive note too, 3 primary schools got in touch with me, and they were doing the schools are doing an amazing amount about the environment within the Middlesbrough Diocese, the Catholic schools, and so they had a day when they wanted to know how to raise their voices. So I was actually answering questions from Year 5 groups across 3 primary schools, and they were very, very good questions. Bishop Terriard, Bishop, he had Year 6, and he also said they were very interesting questions. So it is one of the, if we're looking for hope and encouragement, I think it is in young people and what they're doing within the environment, which is always, you always feel better for talking to kids. So thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Any other dioceses that would like to? Ashley for A and B?
Yes, please, yeah. Well, basically, we've got 3 initiatives going on at the moment. We've got a group set up looking at modern slavery, and we're doing this with our Anglican diocese colleagues. And we've got these modern slavery ambassadors who are going to go out throughout the diocese, try and explain to them what it's all about. And we do actually have 2 or 3 safe houses which the diocese have contributed to. So that's something that's going on quite a lot. The other thing is that we're also very important is the refugees, because I know some Ukrainian ones that have applied or have been received in the A and B, and it's a very sort of interesting process at the moment. It's I mean, it's sort of government led but local run. It's a bit strange. So we're monitoring that at the moment to see how that works. over there. And on the other issue we got was because of the COVID, a lot of parishes at one time used to have tradecraft monthly stalls because all that help was held back. So what we're doing now is we're having a relaunch, and we're going to actually try and relaunch with a fair trade system as well. So we try to live simply process, because I believe live simply is the best way of getting all this environment or any other stuff into the actual congregations. I'll keep it very simple like that.
Thanks, Ashley. I think Phil wants to say a few words for Hexham and Newcastle.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief, Jeff. But yeah, we're involved in a few things. The council are very active, and people are kind of taking sort of, everybody, I suppose, has particular interest. There's quite a small number of people who were regular attenders at. We organised a prayer vigil at the Derwent detention centre. I think people probably are aware that there's a detention centre that was proposed that we were sort of campaigning against, but it's now up and running. There's about 5 to 10 women that are being detained there, but it's got capacity for about 84 people, and there are regular sort of vigils being held monthly on a Sunday, and a lot of the council members and supporters of the council, supporters of Justice and Peace, are attending those, and they're doing things like postcards for the women, and Leah, who's a fantastic one of the members of the council, really into sort of environmental issues. They're collecting things like plants for women as well, and sort of soaps and those sorts of things. So there's kind of a lot of sort of practical things going on, as well as the campaigning side. We've got somebody on the council called Vin Totten. He's got a lot of background around refugee issues, and he's been very involved in providing sort of briefings for us around the Nationality and Borders Bill. So there's a lot of work been going on around that, and writing to MPs, lobbying the bishop, who I think the bishop has then lobbied the bishop's council of bishops. So that's kind of good stuff, I think, that's kind of going on there. We had an event around food justice recently that Veronica, Liz and Leah Vollerin were involved in, which was really positive. A guy called Chris Myers doing a lot of work around environmental issues, and we've got we've been doing a lot of work with the diocese and trying to develop the environmental strategy, which was knocked back a bit, but there's been kind of progress there, and that's been adopted. And the diocese is now working with Father Adrian and Caritas and Chris Hughes, who's on our council, doing work around a social justice strategy as well. And I suppose that there's lots of other things going on, but maybe to mention, we're a strategic partner with Citizens, Planway Citizens, and they're doing great work. And lots of work around the living wage, and the university that I work for, Sunderland, has just announced, through really the work of Citizens, the work they've been doing behind the scenes in lobbying, the VC, we're now a living wage employer, and Newcastle United as well and that's Citizens working behind the scenes. So I think that that there's kind of a lot I think going on. Trying to think of other things. We had trying to get my head around what I need to say. No, I think I'll leave it there. I think it was just, we had a very good AGM as well, and Anne came and did a very good talk for us around Palestine. So yeah, I think we'll leave it there, Jeff. But quite a lot going on.
Right. I've mentioned the day that Lancaster are doing, but just a couple of other points from Lancaster. First of all, a big thanks to Aisling and Pax Christi. For Aisling visited with Sue, our Justice and Peace worker in the diocese, and Terry from the impact groups in Preston, several of the high schools and primary schools in the diocese, and it was a fantastic experience for the kids, and they were really happy with the work that was done there. St Wilfrid's Parish in Preston is one of the founders of Preston Citizens, and are trying to encourage the diocese and other parishes in the area to become members. We're working with the health service and with the Sikhs and with the Methodist Church as the founder members for Preston Citizens. And again, our focus is on the real living wage, particularly for care workers. And the diocese has also launched its Care of Creation Charter, with the Bishop writing an introduction to it. Thank you. Any other dioceses that wish to contribute? Any other organisations or religious then? David, does CAFOD want to say anything about any of your campaigns or works at the moment?
Not right now,
Not
Jeff.
right now. Yeah, okay.
So I've actually, it's quite bizarre, really. I broke my wrist recently, and it's my hand has sort of stopped working. So I'm on the telephone to 111. So I might have to pop off.
Right. Okay. Thanks. Anybody else? I think we're.
Ashley.
Oh, Ashley. Yeah.
Did send the environment group report through. Did you not get that?
I haven't seen that. When was that, Ashley?
I put it Tuesday, last Tuesday.
Tuesday, right? I must have missed it. Just let me find it.
But basically, there's only two things I want to bring up. Is this year? Last year we had the COP26. This year we got COP27, which is actually taking place in Sharm el Sheikh in Egypt. And this COP is actually more important than last year's, because this year all the countries that are taking part have got to put down specific commitments of what they're going to do, and that's the hard bit. Last year it was quite a lot of rhetoric. This year they've got to put the rhetoric into action. So there's a lot of work needs to be done on that. And last year, with creation time, which starts on December the 1st, last year we had over, I think it was 2,500 churches and church groups actually took part in the time of creation. So we want to try and push that again, because obviously that has an effect. So that's one of the things I want to bring up on there. And what was the other one? And the other thing is obviously that we're
found it. Ashley, we appear to have lost your sound. Yeah,
it is there. Right. Well, it's all there anyway. I mean, if it's going on, the people will see that when they get through the reports. There's a pile there that we're all working on.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think that's it, Paul.
Oh, Myra.
Oh, Sister Mary. Yeah.
I could perhaps share that Justice and Peace links are having their annual conference, finally, with Dr. Anna Rowlands. It'll be next weekend, and it's entitled Reclaiming the Politics of the Common Good. And it's going to be at Highley Conference Centre next weekend. We had it planned for 2020, so 2-year wait. Hopefully we'll go, but already some people are not able to come because of certain reasons. But we're also doing it on Zoom as well, which would be a first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Catherine has a hand up.
Hello. Greetings to you all. I have been involved in NJPN in the past under different hats with different organisations. CIIR I used to come for many years,
Thank you very much.
And about 5 years ago with Missio a couple of times. I've dropped out after that, but I'm now working with the World Community for Christian Meditation, with Father Lawrence and the communities there in the international office, rather than the UK office. And I've come along today because I want to explore how we can channel some of WCCM's meditators into justice and peace work, because within the community there's a lot of concern with some of these issues, particularly at the moment, war with the Ukraine and solidarity that we've been offering to our community there. Father Lawrence went to Ukraine, went to Lviv last weekend and broadcast a 3-hour meditation session online, and also a contemplative mass. And we also have a fairly active environmental group within the community. So it's people from all around the world participating in this, not just the UK. I know that they will reach a position soon where I think they'll need to reach out and network with other organisations. At the moment, we're just trying to work out what we consider important in relation to the contemplative approach to the environment. But hopefully something will come out of that soon. We also do a lot of meditation with children, and whilst our work in schools has been halted during COVID, I mean, it's starting to rev up again, and we're going to be holding a webinar on meditation with children on the 24th of June, entitled Emerging from Trauma, Teaching Meditation to Children. And again, Father Lawrence Freeman will be involved with that, and also Tamara Salmon, a speaker on addiction and recovery, will also be launched. So there are a number of crossover points, I think, with the NJPN network, and I would like to encourage WCCM to get more actively involved where there are points of common convergence. So just to say, it's a very active community. There's so much on offer to activists who want to consider a contemplative approach to the work they do, and who find meditation something that can feed and resource them in so doing. There's also a new retreat centre in France, which WCCM has been building, and which is just opening up now, the last 2 or 3 months. So www.wccm.org, you'll find a very well-resourced website with lots more information about all our activities, and loads of online events online to feed the soul in terms of doing active justice and peace work. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Yeah. I think, Catherine, your website details are bearing on newsletter with the details of your conference in June.
Fantastic.
It's on page 4 or 5 of the new newsletter that's come out this week.
Yeah, thank you very much for the airtime.
Anne?
Yeah, just following on from that, really similar. I'm part of Christian Life Community, which has just signed up as members of NJPN as well. And that's small communities that meet regularly based on Ignatian spirituality, but mission is very much part of the ethos. So lots of members are involved in justice and peace activities. So kind of a good marriage. In fact, our first paid worker, John Rooming, was also a CLC member. So we've got a connection there. But again, it's also for those involved in justice and peace, if you feel the need of a community where you can share about what you're doing and deepen your spirituality, that's also a possibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, anything before we close for the morning? You're still muted, Paul.
Just to say that Phil Watson and Melanie have their hands up.
Oh, sorry. They must be on the other. I've got 4 people on another page. It's hard to. Yeah. Sorry. Melanie, do you?
Thank you. I just wanted to say that we're Christian Climate Action. We've also signed up to the NJPN because we have a specific part called Catholics for Christian Climate Action, and our aim is to try and get the church to speak up a bit more about sort of more political issues, including speaking to the government about fossil fuel use, but also we're looking at church divestment. So if anybody is interested in getting into a more active way of tackling these things in a more societal way than Live Simply, then we're really interested in talking to you. And we're widening out. So we're both non-violent direct action and civil disobedience. And we realize that we need to do quite a lot more engagement work around the non-civil disobedience end. So we've focused a lot of that on the Anglican Church, but we'd quite like to look at vigils, public prayer witness, those sorts of things that might kind of challenge Catholic dioceses, especially in the divestment field. And we're working a little bit with Operation Noah on that. So we'd really welcome talking to people around that agenda.
Thanks, Melanie. Phil?
Yeah, it's probably going to sound very garbled, this, but just from in terms of World Council for Christian Meditation, I can remember a few years ago, Father Lawrence Freeman gave a talk at Middlesbrough at Teesside University, and it was around meditation and poverty, and it was absolutely fantastic the way that he linked things together. And I was just sort of thinking, you know, one of these days that we had recently about kind of suicide prevention as well, and I just think that in terms of kind of that relationship between you know, suicide and low-income communities, and the fact that some of us are kind of have got some contacts with those sorts of communities, I just think that, I say this is sounding very garbled, but we've also kind of explored in our council, you know, we've looked at kind of how do we deepen our spirituality, I suppose, as a council, and we had Karen Kilby from Durham University coming to explore things with us. But I just think there might be some ways of, yeah, if we could forge closer links with the World Council for Christian Meditation, that would be absolutely marvellous, really. Just wanted to say that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll send you my email address.
Thanks, Catherine. Brilliant.
Thank you. I love it that this has been, it's been different from a notice board. It's been deeper. It's been more sharing and sharing of the passion as well as the information, if you know what I mean. So thank you very much. We're almost at the end here. I've got to tell you that since we've been online, somebody who shall remain anonymous has already approached somebody finishing university who's expressed a real interest in joining the exec. So you see, it's already happening. Get out there and ask the question. And thank you to that person who immediately thought of somebody. Also, I'm in my garden shed, as you know, and there's birds in the garden. And just while we're online, there was a tweet, and it was something like, anyway, you know how you listen to a bird sing, and it sounds like English. I don't know if you've had that experience. I get it all the time. Anyway, it sounded like Ask Phil Watson. Ask Phil Watson. So, Phil, would you please consider joining the exec? I won't ask you now, but just consider it, please.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Yeah, I will come.
It's 12:30, and Preston are about to
slaughter Middlesbrough.
Lose to the Borough, I hope. Our playoff hopes are still hanging by a thread. So thanks again. Have a lovely lunch, and we'll gather again at 2 o'clock, where we'll listen to Chris Hewer.